Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another RTPI Yorkshire Regional webinar. My name is Mckenzie. I'm the current RTPI Yorkshire Region Chair, and it's my very great privilege to chair this event today. It's going to allow us to take a closer look at what's been happening in an iconic landmark site in Sheffield, namely Park Hill Flats, which some of you may have noticed has actually already been in the news recently. Now, as many of you will be aware, the RTPI President usually visits each RTPI region during their term of office, where there's an opportunity to showcase the very best of planning. These are traditionally done on a site or a face-to-face basis, but as you know, COVID has presented certain restrictions, which the RTPI have worked with to provide clear guidance aimed at helping to keep us all safe and make sure we as a profession help prevent the spread of the virus. In my view, the RTPI has responded well to these challenges and has continued to support our members with a whole host of excellent virtual events. And this event today is no exception. We as a region look forward to our presidential visit because we generally have a lot to showcase, and our annual awards will testify this. Don't just take my word for it. So we're determined really not to allow COVID to spoil our fun. And with the support of our president, this year, we're holding a combination of virtual and real events to celebrate the presidential visit. And face-to-face events are provisionally scheduled for the end of August. I will be properly introducing our President Wei Yang very shortly, as I know she's keen to say a few words to you all. And I'll also be introducing our main speaker, Greg Ball from Urban Splash. Before I do that, I'd just like to say that if you've got any questions, put them down in the chat facility and we'll do our very best to answer as many as we can in the time available during the Q&A part of the webinar. If we don't get round to answering your question, don't be disappointed. It'll likely be that it is either grouped into a number of similar type questions or we just didn't have the time to do it. And we'll do our very best to come back to you after the event. Now, it's my very great honour to introduce to you someone who really needs no introduction in our profession, Wei Yang, RTPI President.
Thank you very much, Derek. Thank you very much, Craig, and also everybody joining us this lunchtime. And I'm really delighted to come to Sheffield today because it's a very special place for me. I studied in Sheffield for 5 years. I still feel Sheffield is my hometown in England. So I'm really look forward for today's visit. And I'm really keen to learn more about the Park Hill regeneration. It is such an iconic building with national significance. So really look forward to know the whole process of the regeneration of the Park Hill apartments. In my presidential year, I'm calling for a revival of spirit for modernized the planning profession. One of my key actions is to enhance public appreciation of the planning profession. So this project is an excellent example to show how innovative planning, design, and management mechanism can do to revive a place. So without further ado, I really look forward to today's visit. Thank you for the introduction, Craig. Derek.
Thank you. I'd now like to move on to our main speaker, Greg Ball. Now, Greg is an experienced development manager who's worked predominantly in the Northwest on large-scale regeneration projects, and he's worked for big companies such as News Developments, U&I, and Greg basically joined Urban Splash in June last year to lead on the delivery of the Park Hill Regeneration project. And there's no better person here today to talk to us a little bit about that. Over to you, Greg.
Thank you very much, Derek, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm delighted to speak at today's event. Just by way of a brief introduction for those that don't know Urban Splash, we're essentially a market-leading urban regeneration developer. We've been going for nearly 30 years now. We've developed over 60 projects that have resulted in over £1 billion worth of gross development value in those regeneration schemes. We've delivered over 4,000 new homes, about 2 million square feet of commercial space, and created thousands of jobs. We are very much focused on partnership working. So we work with many local authorities across the country and other private and public sector organisations. 3 years ago, we set up House by Urban Splash, which is a modular house building side of the business with Seki Sui, who are the world's biggest house builder and Homes England. And we deal with schemes, as I say, across the country, so as far north as South Shields and all the way down to Plymouth. We're very much known as a innovative developer, so very design-led, high-quality, design-focused, and we try to do things a little bit differently to other developers. And I think we're known within the media as that, and as a transformative regeneration developer, and highly innovative. And that's all really culminated in a lot of recognition, a lot of awards, and I think we're up at over sort of 430 awards now, which is really rewarding for the people working so desperately hard to deliver such great places. I have pleasure in focusing today on Park Hill. We've been working in partnership with Sheffield City Council to deliver a transformative regeneration of Park Hill. So Urban Splash was procured as the council's development partner back in 2005. So we've been working on this scheme for quite some time. And to put the scheme into context, this is a great slide, really. So you can see, and hoping people can actually see my cursor, but Park Hill in the foreground, characterised by 5 really imposing brutalist residential blocks at the top of a hill overlooking the rest of the city centre. And as you walk through Sheffield city centre, really there aren't many places where you can't actually see Park Hill at the top of the hill. It's very much part of Sheffield's identity. And just in terms of the extent of Park Hill, we're dealing with 33 acres of land immediately to the east side of the city centre, and it could be a quarter of the city centre in its own right. Given its scale, and it's really well connected. It's within a 5-minute walk to Sheffield Station, and within a 10-minute walk of the heart of the city. So it's very much a unique 33 acres of land within a UK city centre. And Park Hill is a redevelopment of 5 interlinking blocks. We've master planned it to include around about 1,000 homes and about 90,000 square feet of commercial space across 5 phases. The first phase being outlined in yellow there. But just in terms of where we've come from, Park Hill was delivered in the late 50s, stroke early 60s. Very much a vision of the 2 original architects, who were actually 2 young chaps, both in their 20s, called Jack Lynn and Ivor Smith, who worked for the City Council. Really quite a radical design was delivered, particularly for its time. They delivered a brutalist structure. You can see the flanks of the buildings all crank in quite obtuse directions to maximize natural sunlight and the best aspects and views for the scheme. The height of the roof is at the same level at the top of the site. We're dealing with quite an interesting topography, so again, hoping you can see my cursor, but at the northern point of the site is excuse me, around 35 meters lower than the southern top part of the site. And there's 13 stories at the northern point and only 4 stories at the southern point. But the roof level remains consistent throughout, so it's at exactly the same height at the northern point as it is at the southern point. And the site is very much characterized by the infamous streets in the skies. So we have the streets in the skies that essentially run all the way through the scheme. So you can, they're effectively 3 metre wide open decks that you can walk along all the way through the scheme, which is quite unique. And the scheme was delivered as part of essentially slum clearance in this part of the city. It was hugely ambitious housing project of its era. It's one of the largest social housing projects in the country, and essentially these concrete brutalist blocks replaced back-to-back slums in this location that actually used to be called Little Chicago for its the amount of crime and antisocial behaviour in this area. So it was very much seen as one of the pioneering sort of tenement schemes in the country back in the late 50s, early 60s. And the scheme opened 60 years ago. We're just coming up to its 60th birthday next month. And it opened to great success. The scheme created a really strong sense of community. It was perceived to be a really attractive place to live, and a sort of self-sustaining place to live as well, with lots of retail and leisure. And there was a school there. There were 31 shops. There were 4 pubs, and it was perceived to be ahead of its time when it certainly opened. And you can actually see an image of one of the streets in the sky in the bottom right-hand corner there, free from the menace of vehicle traffic. Streets in the skies were very much celebrated as helping to create such a strong sense of community. People used to dwell and spend time and chat within the streets in the skies. Children played in those streets in the skies, and it was very much seen as I said, as a huge success. By the 1980s, Park Hill's reputation started to become tainted, certainly tainted by poverty, crime, and antisocial behaviour. And the streets in the sky started to become associated with isolation and alienation. And the decline of Park Hill was there for everyone to see, unfortunately, during this time. But that wasn't a reflection of Park Hill or its design. It was a reflection of the wider changes happening in Sheffield with the decline of the steel industry, and wider social changes within the country. And by the 1990s, at this point, living conditions at Park Hill were really poor, and the building started to fall quite heavily into a state of disrepair. But actually, controversially, due to its uniqueness of design, its modernist post-war brutalist design, its reinforced concrete frame and concrete balustrades, its brick infill with the 4 different shades, its continuous flat roof of even height, and streets in the sky, providing the open access decks, and the way the flanks cranked and obtusely to maximise those views and aspects. It was recognised, and it became a Grade 2-star listed status in 1998. And we've actually got a great video. We actually tested it before we started this presentation, and unfortunately the sound wasn't working. But we've got a great video to circulate afterwards, which is just a 5-minute clip about the history and heritage of Park Hill, which is absolutely fascinating. So we'll make sure we circulate that round. But certainly, fast forwarding through to the present day, and Urban Splash's involvement, we essentially following signing the development agreement with the council in 2005, took forward the master planning work with Hawkins Brown and submitted and obtained initially outline planning consent in 2006 to provide a new beginning for Park Hill. This is an image of phase 1, where we submitted a reserve matters planning application in 2007 and set about delivering high quality modern homes, and we delivered 260 homes of mixed tenure, which included 40% affordable. And we very much retained the brutalist character with the exposed concrete, and you can see in this image exposing the concrete beams, but focusing very much on really high quality finishes. And you can see where possible we've exposed the concrete. So we've exposed the concrete walls here within the lounge area and within the landing area, and that's an image of the living space. But we've attracted a range of residents, and the scheme has appealed to young professionals that have north shored and moved up from London to Sheffield, to families, to even older couples that have downsized into 1 or 2 or 3 bedrooms apartments. And that sort of diversity of residents has helped us recreate that sort of community feel within the first phase of Park Hill. And we've created now a community of about 700 people, all living and working alongside within phase 1 of Park Hill. And we've created about 30,000 square feet of commercial workspace, and there's a lineup of them, a fantastic collection of workspace occupiers, and we've got a real collective mix of companies. We tried to focus on smaller independent companies, and we've got recruitment companies, research, Me are a dating website, Warp are a TV production company, Airship are a digital company, so a real good mix of occupiers. We've delivered a nursery on site as part of the first phase, and it's great. I mean, when I go down site every week, and as I'm walking through the public realm, and I can hear the children laughing and playing outside, it really is quite rewarding. We've also let space to South Street Kitchen, or a sustainability-based local cafe and restaurant. And we've also let space within the original Park Hill garages to provide S1 art space with exhibition space and space for artist studios as well. And because we've got such a large site, it's been vital for us to deliver really high quality landscape. We've got 33 acre site there. So we've tried to create amazing landscaped areas that again encourages people to enjoy the outside world and create that community feel by dwelling and enjoying the outside space together. And we installed some exhibition plinths to drop in some exhibition pieces, and again it's been great to see local residents and the local community embrace those pieces and enjoy those pieces. We've, as part of placemaking as well, we've carried out lots of events. These are just a couple of images of some of the events. The image on the left was an event called Park Hour, which is a sort of assault course event, and on the right hand side is my esteemed colleague Mark Latham on racing in the cyclocross race through our public realm at Park Hill, which is a hugely successful event. And we do lots of things like summer parties and outside cinema events, and to again create that community feel and and which is vital for placemaking at Park Hill. You know, we are very proud to say that we've achieved some really sort of tangible socio-economic outputs from our involvement with regenerating Park Hill. And you know, it's always great to see the work to date also being recognised by people like Ivor Smith, who was the original architect at Park Hill. So moving on to sort of the present day, really, which is what we're dealing with at the moment, which is the delivery of the second phase of Park Hill. So we're working with a London-based architect called Mckenzie, who are a Stirling Prize-winning architect, to bring forward another 195 new homes and 20,000 square feet of commercial workspace and a restaurant bar space. And we were awarded the outline reserve matters planning consent and listed building consent in December 2017. We started on site in January 2019, and we are still on site, and we're due to complete this particular phase at the end of the year. But again, the design very much celebrates the open deck streets in the sky, which run from phase 1 over the link bridges into phase 2 and along each flank. In blue is highlighted, where we are again creating those active frontages with the delivery of more commercial space to those lower levels. And this particular scheme is all centered around, again, really high quality residence gardens within the courtyard area. And this scheme is more retentionist compared to the first phase. So it is the concrete frame structure is the listed element, and that is what we retained within the first phase, but we included aluminium panels within a glazing system within the first phase. The second phase here, and as you can see, we retain the brick infills, the original brick infills. So we're grit blasting the original brickwork, and we are retaining that brickwork. So it is more retentionist. This is a view looking down South Street, so you can actually just see phase 1 in the background and phase 2 in the foreground here. We do introduce colour to the elevations by way of these rendered colour balcony cheeks, but largely, as I say, it is much more retentionist as a scheme compared to phase 1, which is important as well from a sort of sustainability point of view, and the amount of carbon we are saving by retaining the original concrete frame and brickwork is really important to us. And again, delivering really high quality finishes internally, again, retaining and exposing as much of the original concrete as possible. The slight difference being, I think, in phase 1, where you've got a high level beam that runs to the external facade, we are now insulating and plastering, because we suffered a little bit of kind of cold bridging, which affected the efficiency of the homes in phase 1. So it's important to obviously deliver as highly efficient homes as we possibly can by insulating these homes as best we can. But we do retain the original character where we can on internal walls. And that's another image of one of the bedrooms we're looking to deliver. And I actually took this image a couple of months ago, just as the scaffold started to come down on the second phase. And I really like this image because you can see the interface between phase 1 on the right hand side and phase 2 on the left hand side, with the link bridges in place. And you can just see the streets in the sky and those open decks. Again, hopefully you can just see my cursor just highlighting those. And the different flanks. So this is flank D, E, and the sunshine just hitting flank F there. And the works to the elevations are actually largely complete now, so all repair works to the original concrete frame are complete. All works to the brickwork are complete. The windows are all installed. The precast balustrades and handles are all installed. The only thing that needs to be dropped in here is the full height glazing to the commercial space at lower level. And yeah, this is an image of the sort of coloured rendered balcony cheeks that adds that colour to the elevations, and we are now installing the paving to those balconies. And we benefit these smaller eyelet balconies as well, and we're just currently installing the balustrades to those eyelet balconies. This is an image of the entrance lobby. This is really quite amazing space. It's really imposing double height space. We've formed the space now, and we need to put in the finishes, but we'll be exposing as much of the original concrete as we possibly can, and even the concrete scarring we'll be looking to retain and have on show. But we'll be rendering the soffits and the walls, putting it in a new floor finish, a new lighting design and signage design. But largely, a lot of the concrete will be left in its raw form, and we really want to celebrate that. This is an image of one of the streets in the sky. So this is the 3 metre wide streets in the sky, where milk floats used to travel down, but you know, very much seen as you know, kind of social spaces when they were originally delivered. And we're now installing kitchens and working on the finishes to the bedroom. So we're making really good progress, and we're you know, it's proven to be a hugely successful scheme in terms of sales as well. So as I say, we're delivering 195 new homes. We've sold or reserved 155 homes, and we've got 40 left to go with the you know, and we're due to practically complete the scheme in December. So we're on target to for it to be fully sold as a scheme, which will be hugely successful. And I think testament to the original design, the original vision of the architects, and you know, the uniqueness of the fact that we've got these streets in the sky, the open deck access, and the fact that we've got every apartment are duplexes and they benefit from dual aspects. And as I say, the sales of the homes are proving to be really successful. And when so when phase 2 completes, and I'll come on to phase 3. Phase 3 is actually completed already now. So we'll have the spine of the scheme completed, and in large, the regeneration of Park Hill, you know, quite far in advanced. And when phase 2 completes, you know, we'll grow from a community of 700 just in phase 1 to a community of about 1,500 people all living and working in Park Hill between phases 1 and phases 3. Phase 4 is the next scheme, which overlooks Duke Street, which I'll come on to in a moment. But in terms of phase 3, we actually partnered with a specialist student residential developer called Alumno to deliver 356 hotel bedrooms. And this scheme, again, designed by Whittam Cox, who are based in Chesterfield, but it's more of a retentionist look and feel and aesthetic. Again, you can see the original brick infills all being retained as part of this scheme. And similarly, internally, a lot of the original mosaics have been retained, and also the concrete exposed to the walls and the soffits where possible. And I can honestly say the quality of the accommodation compared to my student days 20 years ago is on a completely different level. And Urban Splash, you know, we tried to carefully curate all ground floors. So whilst we sold the building to Alumno and they delivered the student residential scheme, we've taken a lease back of the ground floor so we can curate the right ground floor active uses. And we've agreed a deal with a convenience store operator, and we've worked with them on the design of their branding and the naming of the store, and it will be called Park Hill Provisions, and that's just an example of how we tend to try and curate those ground floor uses and frontages to make sure that, you know, we don't really want to let to a Sainsbury's or, you know, a national operator, and try and keep it as independent as we possibly can, which we think suits Park Hill. So we're now working quite hard on bringing forward the delivery of the next phase, which is phase 4, and we're looking to deliver 106 new homes, a new cultural hub for S1 Art Space, a new art gallery, a new build art gallery for S1 Art Space, all surrounded by beautiful landscape gardens. We've taken forward a design, and we've concluded design stage 2, and we submitted a reserve matters planning application, which we got approval for, which was great news. And we're just currently working on grant funding opportunities at the moment, with a view to hopefully starting on site in 2022. Everything coloured up is what S1 want to take and will deliver as artist studios, workspace for the creative sectors, a new auditorium, a new learning centre, and community facing centre. And as I say, that new build gallery that interfaces with the original flank. And this is a quick view of the main entrance reception for S1, you know, really exposing and celebrating the original concrete frame with this triple height entrance lobby, and a couple of images of what the art space will look like, and what the workspace for the creative sector will also look like, and also an image of the new build gallery that we are looking to deliver. And I mean, this scheme would be absolutely amazing for both Park Hill and the local community, but also for Sheffield, because it could be a real catalyst for the visitor economy. We were forecasting 80,000 visitors per year to visit this scheme once it's complete, hopefully in 2024. And then we'll start to look to then deliver phase 5, which will be the last phase to deliver at Park Hill. And whilst we've not carried out any design work on phase 5, we hope to deliver another 110 to 115 new homes for Park Hill, and that will conclude the regeneration of Park Hill that we all desperately want to see, and leave a really positive, lasting legacy well into the future for this fantastic landmark scheme. And that's the end of my presentation.
Thanks very much, Greg. Very interesting presentation indeed, and no doubt will stimulate some questions. Before we go to the Q&A, if I may take advantage of this position as chair of the meeting, just to ask a question straight away. And it was prompted partly in the questions by Esmond Sage, who asked about the level of the affordable housing that was being provided. And early in the presentation, you highlighted it as 40%. But so as somebody coming from the public sector and working with developers all the time on the conversion and adaptation of buildings to residential, the consistent argument is the extra costs involved in conversion and adapting as opposed to new build. And I appreciate that you had a listed building to contend with, which forced your hand somewhat. But could you just tell us a little bit how you've actually managed to achieve a staggering 40% affordable contribution amidst the extra costs involved. I imagine there was a lot of subsidy coming in. You can tell us a little bit about that. That would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We the affordable allocation that we have to aim for at Park Hill is actually prescribed in the outline planning conditions, and that is to deliver a site-wide allocation of 20% affordable. In phase one, we've delivered 40%, and whilst I wasn't directly involved, we were successful in being granted grant from Homes England that assisted with the delivery of phase one, and we agreed a deal with Great Places Housing to essentially purchase I think it's 94 homes for social rent. So hugely successful as a scheme, incorporating, you know, quite a significant amount of affordable, and has helped us deliver a real mix of tenures within phase one, which, you know, really contributes towards delivering a successful local community. In phase two, we're not delivering any affordable, so 195 homes are being sold to the open market, which we've been able to do because we delivered so many homes for affordable within phase one, and that has helped the financial viability of phase two. In general, the financial viability of delivering Park Hill is very, very challenging. With phase two, as I say, we've managed to deliver it because there isn't any affordable, and we've also relied on cross subsidy from the sale of the phase three building, and that has allowed us to come forward with a viable scheme. But not only have we benefited from grant from Homes England in phase one, we've also benefited from grant from Historic England to help us deliver phase two. We're now looking at phase four, and we're looking to include again a 20% affordable provision within phase four. Phase four is financially unviable at the moment, and you will note, I sort of said in the presentation that we are in for grant funding at the moment, and we are actively applying for grants through Sheffield City Region Brownfield Housing Fund, and S1 Art Space are also applying for grants for their kind of fit out elements of the project as well. So, you know, it is a very much a partnership approach and a collaborative approach by ourselves and the public sector and a number of stakeholders is really the only way to deliver a scheme at Park Hill. The buildings are quite sort of heavily constrained in that, you know, as a construction project, they're very difficult to deliver because of the amount of concrete repairs that we have to carry out. So phase two alone had 400 concrete repairs. The window openings are all different sizes. You know, we're dealing with a heritage building, which sort of translate to a you know, a much more kind of challenging construction project than a typically a new build, and for that reason, the financial viability of the scheme is very challenging, and this need for this collaborative approach to bring forward the delivery of this scheme.
Thanks for that, Greg. We're getting some questions coming in now, which is really good. I'd like to go to the first question from David Johnson, and he's asking, was there a district heating scheme in the original building? Is the heating scheme being used for the whole scheme? And is it utilising any form of sustainable energy at all?
Yes, we did use the district heating system for phase 1, which has meant that that has helped with the sustainability credentials for the first phase. We're not using that same district heating system for phase 2, purely from our experiences with phase 1, where, and I won't go into too much detail, but the kind of the utility provider can essentially monopolize billings, and you can't change providers basically, which I think we've learned from our experience that it's important for residents to be able to change providers if they need to. So we're not integrating that system into phase 2. Phase 2 is still based on a sustainable development, so sustainable in terms of the amount of embodied carbon that we save just simply by a retentionist scheme and working and recycling the original concrete frame and brickwork. So we sort of forecasted that we're saving about 1,750 tons of CO2 emissions just by recycling the original concrete frame. So from an embodied carbon point of view, it's fantastically sustainable. And then in terms of carbon in operation, there are no gas boilers, it's only electricity. We make the apartments as well insulated and airtight as possible. We integrate cycle hubs into the design of the building to encourage alternative means of transport to the traditional car. We're including electric charging points for the car parking that we are delivering. So yeah, we are very conscious that we want to deliver as sustainable a building as we possibly can, and we are putting in measures to deliver on that promise.
Thanks, Greg. I've got a question from Chris Kwasnowski, and Chris, I'm sorry if I spelled your surname wrong or pronounced it wrong, but the question here is, has the maintenance costs for phase 1 worked out as envisaged? And also, interestingly, who maintains the public spaces?
Yeah, so we've set up an estate-wide management plan where we've set up an estate management company to look after all the external estate-wide landscaping, and each phase contributes to that estate service charge. But then below that umbrella, we've created a federated system of having building management companies as well for each phase, and they are represented by Urban Splash as developer, the council as freeholder, but also the residents, and there is a residents association that has been set up as a voice into that ManCo, and essentially all building maintenance and management all runs through that building ManCo, and we've set up a building service charge, and every resident contributes to that building service charge. So for the upkeep of and the cleaning and maintenance of things like the streets in the sky, that cost is spread right across all 260 residents. So the building service charge is quite low because those costs are spread quite far and wide. But yeah, we are working to an estate-wide management strategy, and that seems to be working really well.
Thanks for that. Got a question from Peter Lush, who's saying, is there a contract or any funding to continue the activities such as the cycle event that you talked in your presentation?
Yes, yeah. So we are planning a lot more events. We've obviously had a period of 12 months or so, for obvious reasons, where we've scaled back on the amount of the events that we were looking to plan. But with it being our 60th birthday for Park Hill, we're planning on quite a big event in early October, and to reintroduce more and more events again. You know, we engage with the Residents Association regularly. They're really keen to see more events again. Yeah, in terms of funding, the funding, it's generally either funded by estate and building service charge. We tend to make a contribution as developer to those events. Yeah, there will be a lot more events over the coming, hopefully 12 to 24 months than there has been over the course of the last 18 months due to COVID. Are you still there, Derek?
I think Derek's just frozen.
Yeah, I think Derek. Yeah, video is frozen. Maybe can I ask a question? Maybe Derek, let's wait for him to join back. I visited Park Hill actually when I first studied in Sheffield in 1999. I really want to applaud your achievement in the last 20 years of turning this place into something totally different. And I really applaud the long-term vision you have been given to this project. I think it's very, very special. And also the attention to details, and also the core really funding of thinking how to engage community and also engage with other public sector organizations to contribute to this exciting project. It's really to generate this long-term social capital for the public benefit. I think that's a great example of showing how public and private partnership can work together to achieve something for our society. And can I ask a detailed question about the street in space? Are they being designed into enclosed space now, or they are still open space, open corridors? What are the changes to the design of that?
Yeah, so the streets in the sky are still open decks, yes. And our intention is to sort of replicate that original feel that contributed so successful to really successful local community, in that we are looking to keep the route through from the bottom of the sides where phase 1 is all the way up to phase 5, and for people to walk all the way along those decks and those streets in the skies throughout the scheme. We've delivered, as I say, 40% affordable in phase 1. In phase 2 there isn't any affordable, but we're really quite insistent that phase 2 doesn't turn its back on phase 1 in any way, and that those open decks remain open for people to walk along. So there won't be a secure line between phase 1 and phase 2 where only key fob entry access allows you to get from phase 1 to phase 2. That won't happen. We want to keep those link bridges all open for people to walk along. So we're not turning our back on any of the different tenure types, and to make sure there's access for everybody that lives within the scheme.
Okay, thank you. Derek, back to you.
Thanks for that, and apologies. I was rudely thrown out of the meeting and sort of quickly scrambled back in, so apologies for that. I've got a question here from Chris English, and I'm not sure if you were talking about the streets in the sky when it was in response to that. But Chris has asked, what's been done to encourage the streets in the sky to be used as safe public social spaces? I guess avoiding the antisocial behaviour problems of the past.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's, as I say, we're keeping the streets in the sky as they were. I think we actually narrowed down the streets in the sky a little bit in phase 1. In phase 2, we kind of reverted back to their original width. But you know, we're using really high quality finishes. You know, the entrance ways into each home, we're using really high quality materials, and we want residents to take pride in those locations. So we're actually installing sort of really nicely designed entrance mats, they're like entrance tiling to each threshold to the door, and each entranceway will have an individual look and feel. So the owners of each apartment really takes pride of those areas, and you know, contribute to the upkeep of those areas. From a security point of view, you know, we have set up CCTV around the scheme. That's all monitored by an on-site management team. So you know, if there is any trouble, then you know, it's not like a traditional housing project where the streets in the sky became quite isolated places and alienated places. They will look and feel as really safe places because of you know, the quality of finishes that we're delivering within these areas, but also the ongoing maintenance and monitoring of these areas from a security point of view.
Brilliant. Next question is a bit of a technical question from Sean Rawling, asking about the condition of the original concrete, and has there been any technical issues around its conservation?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and you know, that has been one of our biggest challenges. So you know, we've carried out site surveys, quite intrusive site surveys for the buildings, and taking phase 2 for example, you really only understand the extent of the amount of repair work in relation to the concrete once you've fully stripped out the building. And we've had to carry out double the amount of concrete repair work than we originally envisaged. So the original concrete repair package was something like £500,000, and it's ended up costing us about 1.3 million. So that's been quite challenging in terms of, you know, affecting our delivery program, and also increasing our construction costs. You know, it really has been quite challenging because we've had to pick up around 400 concrete repairs throughout phase 2. So yeah, it's been really quite a, as I say, quite a challenging aspect to the scheme, but you know, it'll be well worth it, I think, as we started to bring down the scaffold and reveal more and more of the building. You know, we're kind of wowed by the quality of how those buildings are now starting to look and feel.
Thanks, Gary. I'm just mindful of the time. Thanks for that answer. Got 5 minutes left. I think we've probably got time for a couple more questions, but there's a lot more on the list, and we will do our very best to get back to you. This next question is from, and again, please excuse if I've got your name wrong, Edwin Fagal, and asking you a question on similar lines, by the way, praising the quality of the scheme. And he's asking, what sort of environmental standards were you working to in order to maintain the original character?
Yeah, so we've in terms of maintaining the original character, we've worked very, very closely with historic England. So they are essentially, I suppose, part of our design team, in that you know, they come to site and they critique the quality of things like the repair work to the concrete, and the quality of the brickwork, making sure that you know, we are restoring the building as sensitively as we possibly can do. And as I say, that they've very much been part of our design team, and we've held their hand kind of along the way, and they've been you know, assessing our work as we've gone along all the way through the project, to make sure that as I say, we are restoring the buildings as sensitively as we possibly can. So it's been great to have them on board, and everything's fully recorded. So in terms of, you know, where we've successfully delivered this scheme, and you know, we've kind of set a kind of a level of reference to how we want to achieve the remaining phases. So a kind of setting a benchmark in phase 2 of how we want to deliver and approach the concrete repair works to the remaining phases.
Thanks. And unfortunately, we do have more questions, but we don't have the time. But before I conclude, I just wanted to ask Wei if you had any sort of comments yourself of what you've heard and the questions that we've had as a result of the presentation.
Thank you, Derek. I really want to thank you, Craig, and also Urban Splash for providing this fantastic presentation. I already said I really want to applaud your achievement of your long-term vision of delivering this project, because design quality is so important to make sure in terms of plan making and the place making, and to build communities, and then really how to engage everybody in the whole process, the importance of them. So I think as planners, we are a very core part of that, and then I think we are holding hand by hand to really achieving this excellent project. So thank you very much, and really hope you best of luck for the next stages of the project. And I look forward to visit the place in real time.
Yeah, it'd be great to show you around, and no, thank you for your kind words, really appreciate that.
Thank you, Wei. So I'd like to close this event now by just giving a few thanks. Firstly, a huge thanks to our President Wei for supporting the RTPI Yorkshire event today. I and the team really look forward to meeting you in person later in the year.
Thank you very much for hosting the event.
Yeah. I'd like to give a big thanks to Greg for such an interesting and inspiring presentation. It's given huge food for thought, and it shows that, you know, anything is possible with the commitment and the right approach to that. And I'm sure you'll agree with me, it was an excellent presentation. So thank you for that. And on behalf of all of us, I'd like to echo Wei's comments and wishing you the best of luck in the completion of the project.
Thank you, Derek.
I'd also like to thank Sarah, who's not on camera, but Sarah's our regional coordinator. And effectively, Sarah does all the organising, pulling everything together. Without Sarah, these events just don't happen. Great job, Sarah. Thank you from
Thank you, Derek. Thank you. It's appreciated.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome. And lastly, I'd like to thank you for attending this event here today and giving up your valuable time to support us. It's really appreciated. I hope you've enjoyed it. I promise we'll try and get back to you on as many questions as we can, and I apologise we didn't get through them today. At this point, I'd normally say have a safe journey home, but I can get away now with saying something like, have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.